Hello everyone. Recently I received a couple of questions regarding F12 menu for Minimig in particular. So here I have standard Minimig 1.97 running 68,000 CPU, and what I have on the screen is this kickstart screen running. And the question is, what now? I mean, most of the customers are familiar with the Minimig and F12. Basically, when you press F12, you get this on-screen menu, and from there you can do many things. You can insert the floppies, set up hard drives, and so forth. And it's kind of self-explanatory. I never felt there is a lot of reasons to explain these options, but now I'm realizing if you are not familiar with Minimig and if you don't have previous experience, having this video might be of use to some of you guys. So, as I said, menu is called F12, obviously, because you will open menu by pressing F12 key. And then you can navigate through the menu using these cursor keys here, up and down, and also left and right. So that's how you move through the menu. Left and right works as well. You can see that by looking at these arrows indicating the direction of the menu. And first thing that happens when you press F12, you get the list of hard drives. So basically what you can do, you can choose which floppy drive you want to use. This is the first Amiga floppy, second, third, and fourth. And let's say you choose DF0. From there you can go to a folder, and these are the files that you can copy on your SD card. So now you're basically looking at your directory structure on the SD card. And let's say you go to Workbench, and because this is a Kickstart 3.2, you select that and disregard those dot files. This is something that it's coming from the Mac operating system, but you'll I guess find install image. So these are ADFs. You won't see the extension here, but this file, for example, is called install 3.2 ADF. And the moment I select this, Minimig will start loading floppy from the SD card. This is a floppy emulation, and hopefully within a couple of seconds you'll get the Workbench screen that's loading from virtual floppy. And from here now you can commence the installation or whatnot. The same thing goes with games. If you want to load Amiga game from Amiga floppy, you will also press F12, you will select the game, and Amiga will just, or in this case Minimig, will just load the content, your game or whatnot. To eject the floppy, you press enter again, and then floppy is out. And then you see the arrow here, that means you can go further like this. And here you see a lot of different options. One is reset, of course, because I ejected the floppy now, I can go reset Minimig, yes. And then after you will just get the same old kickstart screen. And then if I go again, next option is settings. Here you have chipset, memory, drives, and video. So let's go through each menu. First, chipset. Here you can choose between turbo mode and normal mode. And the moment you switch, the CPU will change frequency. Normal is 709 megahertz. And turbo mode depends on the core, FPGA core you're using. Let me show you that. That looks like this. So in this case, because my Minimig is 6 megabit variant, this is the folder that contains the cores. So if I go there, you'll find two directories. One is for the regular CPU and a PyStorm. This is how it's called. And the other one is for Terrible Fire accelerator cards. So these are two different types of cores, and depending on the CPU you're using, you can choose between these two. Again, the first one works with the regular CPU and PyStore. And here you have these files, and you will notice that each file has a different clock. So basically you will copy one of these files to the root directory of your SD card, and you will rename this file to look like this. So you will just delete all of this stuff and you will leave minimig1.bin. So this is it. And then Minimig will run at 35 MHz in the turbo mode. If you want to go lower, you will use some of the other files. And if you want to higher, you will use some of the other files. Here you can go up to 60 MHz. Now, these chips that I'm shipping with Minimig, they're designed to run around 20 MHz, but they will most of the time run no issues. I mean, completely fine at the 60. But to run at 60 MHz, many things needs to, how can I say that? It's a little bit of luck, because some of the chips tend to be more stable at these frequencies, some of them are less stable. Then on FPGA chip itself, some FPGA chips will work nicely at the 60 MHz, some won't, and so forth. So to make things simple, the most safe frequency or clock is 42 MHz. You can experiment, go slightly lower or slightly higher. So I would go around, I don't know, from 38 to 45 MHz if you experience any instabilities or issues, and then go up and up and up. It doesn't mean that 60 MHz has more chances to be unstable than 45. It's just a matter of how chip is made, and it's a little bit of luck, you know, trial and error. One thing for sure, you won't find a lot of a huge difference in performance between, let's say, 42 or 60 MHz. It's equally fast, and most of the performance is actually coming from a fast memory, more than a clock of your CPU. So this is my advice. I usually ship Minimigs with cores. They're like, I don't know, somewhere from 45 to 56 MHz. But then if I do extensive testing for a couple of days at 60, then I ship Minimig at 60 MHz. It's more of novelty to say that your computer is running at 60 MHz, then there is some special benefit to it. So I would say anything from 35 to 60 MHz, try in that range and see, you know, what works the best for you. So you know, you'll find the best clock for your Minimig and your CPU in particular. Also, sometimes using fast SD card will help with the higher frequencies. Try not to use cheap SD cards. That can also be a factor, limiting factor as well. So having said that, now we're in turbo mode. Here, since I'm running Toshiba 68000 CPU that can run up to 35 MHz. I believe we're at the 35 MHz. Now we're at the 709, and that's how it works. Now, one thing to mention, once you change this, you need to exit to the previous menu and then here go to save. So if you look at this menu, chipset, memory, drives, video, exit, and then you go one, you can see the arrow here. You go one level down and then you go save. You click save. Now your settings are remembered, saved. Otherwise, if you reboot, you will go back to the previous settings. So if I go now, let's say again to chipset, I switch to normal, but I don't save. That means the CPU will run at the 7 MHz only for this session until I reboot. So that's that about the clock. Second thing is video. If you want to switch to PAL or NTSC, this will be in effect once you reboot. Also, don't forget to save. Chipset, ECS, OCS, Amiga 500, Amiga 1000, or ECS. I usually run at ECS, especially if you're using double HD load, then this is the best option. If you're running from the floppies, then sometimes you will need to adjust this, maybe to OCS A500 and see what works the best. you will find that Minimig behaves in many ways like your real Amiga. So if you're running from the floppy, sometimes you need to adjust the amount of memory, chipset configuration, even CPU clock for the games to run properly. Now WHD load will resolve most of these issues if you're using that approach, but just a heads up. So these options are quite useful. Okay, so going one level up, memory, it's self-explanatory. You can adjust the amount of chip RAM. It goes from half megabytes to 1 megabyte, 1.5 or 2 megabytes. Slow memory, despite of the name, slow memory is the one that's cached in Minimig and is the fastest memory on the system. So it's advised to use slow RAM. And fast RAM, this is the latest addition to the motherboards, ATX motherboards. We have auto configuration in place, and your operating system in Amiga will detect RAM and place it in appropriate memory location. So in total, you can have 5.5 megabytes of RAM. 512K of memory will go to kickstart. So Minimig doesn't have a kickstart chip. In fact, it's using one of the RAM chips as a kickstart, because kickstart is loaded from SD card, as you know probably. So that's that. This is you should keep this to the maximum if you're using hard drive and WHD load, of course. But if you're loading from the floppy, sometimes you need to play with these numbers, same as on your original Amiga, right? And then last option is ROM, and basically you load the ROM file you'd like. Let's say I want to load Kickstart 1.3. If this is not set, system will just load the default file. It's called the kick.rom. So this one will be the default file that the system will load. However, if you define or select the kickstart, that's the one that the system will load. For example, like this. Update kickstart name, power cycle required. I would say yes. And then if I power cycle like this, I will get kickstart 1.3. which I've just selected. There you go. So that's that. Now I'm in the NTSC, so I'm going to change this to PAL. I'm going to save that, and then I'm going to reset again. You can see sometimes then NTSC on the screen looks a little bit elongated the picture slightly. So that's how you're going to recognize. So yeah, now we are back to PAL ECS, and back to previous menu. We went through the chip, slow, fast, and ROM. So this is now, hopefully it's clear which of these options are for which function. And if you go back one level up, now next option is drives. So basically, first you're selecting how many floppy drives you want to have. It says drives, it's not really descriptive, but this is for floppies, right? So if you change this to, let's say, 1, and then save, the first menu item on the F12 menu will have only 1 drive. I would recommend 4, why not? And then speed, if you go normal, that means that the system will try to be kind of like cycle exact in terms of speed of a floppy drive, but fast most of the time works just fine. I haven't experienced any issues with that. If you ever get some sort of incompatibility, you can try with the normal speed, but that's up to you. And then now this option that says A600 IDE, this is the hard drive controller in on your Minimig, and you can enable that. Once you do, go to hard files. Here I have already selected 2 hard files. One is called HD0. I think there is extension IMG, like image, or HDF or something like that. Minimig won't show you the extension, but it will show you the files. So if you select here, you can select those files. These files are on your SD card here. So you copy your hard drive images here, and then from menu you can select them. Couple of things to note here. First, there is a limit in terms of file system on the SD card. It's FAT32, so that means that the size of your image can be up to 4 gigabytes. So here you have 8 gigabytes basically in two files. You have the first hard drive and the second hard drive, and each is 4 gigabytes, which is quite enough to cram pretty much all the games and the demos, most of them, like maybe 90%. What else I can tell you? I mean, the best way to create these images is to use WinUAE, Amiga emulator, or UAE emulator for some other operating system, and then just copy these files here and set up appropriate kickstart, and you know, it will work just fine. So that's that. Let's say now I enabled this and the hard drive is enabled. I will go exit, and then don't forget to save again, like last time. Save. And now if I reset, I can reset like this, for example. Yes. Then the hard drive will start loading the operating system, and it will load. However, now because I'm in this kickstart, I will also need to change the kickstart. I will go to, because this is 1.3 and the hard drive images are for kick 3.2. I will do that. Okay, I will power cycle, and then you will see that the new kickstart 3.2 will start loading hard image. Keep that in mind. You know, you need to combine the appropriate kickstart with your operating system files. If you have 1.3 kickstart and your hard drive is not loading, I mean, obviously you need to make sure that everything is in place. And there you go. Now, because I have a kickstart 3.2 and the images, hard drive images are actually loaded with this 3.2 operating system workbench, it works just fine. You can see RAM here and everything else. So this is, in my opinion, the best way to use Minimig, because here you can load all your WHD load games. You can use Tiny Launcher or any other WHD load front end, and just go from there. Start your demos or games directly from there. So that's that. Let's see what else we have here. So drives, this is now clear, hopefully. Floppy, speed of the drives, this is hard drive enabling, selecting the hard drives. And then next option is video. So here, I must admit, this came with Minimig. There is a low res filter and high res filter. I don't know what's the benefit or what is this doing. I'm seeing that it's changing slightly the way the picture looks like. Sometimes it can get a little bit blurry, I think. But you can play with this and see how this affects the way the image looks like. And sorry for the artifacts on the screen. This is just my phone being iPhone and you know, capturing this interference pattern. But yeah, I usually disable this. I don't use these filters. You can play with filters and see if that improves your picture quality. And then scan lines, you can use TV, you can use cache off, and you can use VGA alike. If you use TV, this is, I don't know if you can see it from here, you have scan lines. So this is emulating the scan lines, so your screen looks more like a CRT. And of course, if you use VGA alike, you'll get the same thing without scan lines. Now, this thing is interesting. If you go cache off, I believe, I haven't looked into this too much, but I believe the Minimig will turn off the cache, memory cache, and this will slow down your performance of especially in some 3D games, and you know, when you have a lot of memory intensive stuff. So what I would say, keep this VGA alike. And if you have some very particular games they're crashing or having some issues, this cache off will reduce your Minimig to like ordinary vanilla Amiga performance. I haven't seen this thing being a problem ever, but you know, this is something to keep in mind. If you want to have like more cycle exact thing, then you can try, I guess, scanline cache off. And again, I must admit, I don't know much about functionality of this and why is this important, or when does this help. Please, in the comments, leave the comment if you have some insight about this. But what I would suggest, most of the time, I mean, I never had any issues, just keep it as a VGA alike, or if you like scan lines, you can do TV alike. This will definitely slow down the chip performance. So that's that. And then that's about that. Let me see if there is anything else. Of course I can save. Then there is in this, now I'm on the top level menu again. Then there is a firmware, and you can see the version here, and you can do the update. You need to find the file that's that has extension, I think UPG, I like upgrade. That really, I haven't released a lot of these upgrade files because I most of the time suggest to people to use the kit, just to use the USB cable and use the programmer, Samba programmer from the PC. It's good to have that because if something goes wrong with this file update, you will need to do it either way with your USB programmer. But in the future, if there is some major updates, I will release the update files, and basically go here. System will find the file, and then you select the file, and the ARM controller will just flash itself. So that's how it works. So for options, fast SPI is enabled. So there is a switch on your Minimig that says fast SPI on off. Basically, when you enable fast SPI, you increased clock from 8 MHz to, I believe, 20 something. Let's say 24-ish megahertz for the SPI line between your SD card and ARM. So what you do, you improve the performance of your hard drive. In general, that's what it does. I ship Minimigs with this option enabled. Switch is enabled, and also this option is enabled in the menu here. If you want to disable it, be careful. You need to do two things. You need to first reboot your Minimig while holding menu button. And also then you need to move this fast SPI switch to disable location on your motherboard. So what I would say, avoid holding menu button while you're powering on, because then you will disable fast SPI and your Minimig won't boot up again until you move the switch to the location that says disable. The switch is close to the SD card, so when you open the Minimig case, you will find locate SD card, and switch is just above the SD card. So it's very easy to locate, and it's just, you know, slidable, movable switch, so you can move it left and right. And that's that. I wouldn't play with it too much if there's no reason. Just leave it at the fast SPI is enabled, and that will do just fine. So last thing to mention is this FPGA core option, where you can load different cores and test the cores on the fly. Let's say you want to test 35 MHz core, you can load the core from here. However, for the time being, avoid this. If you want to test the core, just rename the core into minimig1.bin and then restart your Minimig. The reason is, this is the old load system that was using boot ROM that was replaced recently, and this simply won't work with new Minimigs. So The best way to execute a new core is to avoid this option and just rename the core to minimig1.bin and then reboot. So just a heads up. Basically, if I select one of the cores, it will start loading, but it will it will try to find boot ROM and it just won't continue. So until that's changed, I just haven't had a chance to kind of change the code to use MIA subsystem, MIA chip. Until I change that, this option won't work, but it's really not that important. So maybe in some future updates, this will be corrected. So having said that, I think this is the last option. If you have any additional question, please send me an email to support@minimig.ca. I will gladly try to help and answer all your questions. If you have some smart comments, suggestions, please leave a comment here on YouTube. But I mean, in general, I think this menu is so simple. There's not a lot. There is select your floppy, set up your RAM and CPU clock, choose your kickstart, and mostly that's that. With addition of a few other little tweaks here and there. But I mean, hopefully this video covers everything well. Again, thank you for your attention and watching this video. Hopefully talk to you soon. Have a good one.